Layoffs.
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 Layoff.
Layoffs. What is happening in the world right now that's making some of the biggest companies we've ever seen cut huge portions of their teams overnight? Well, today you and me are going to be talking layoffs. What's causing them? How to cope if you've been laid off, and some quick tips and tricks to help you get back on your feet. But first, real quick, if you found this video because you've been recently laid off, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I can't even begin to imagine the added stress that this has put on you and your family. So we here at Uvaro want to do as much as we can to help. Just me as a human being, as a person. Seeing my friends getting laid off, it sucks. So I want to do everything I can to help anybody else out there that's going through the same thing. Okay, sappy stuff out of the way. Let's step into study hall and find out why these layoffs are happening. Well, first, it all starts with the economy. If you read any major business publication today, you'll see that the primary reasons for this most recent set of layoffs are broadly split into two categories: macroeconomic factors and microeconomic factors. First, we'll take a look at those broader macroeconomic trends. As of November 16th, over 35,000 people have been laid off this month alone. And that adds to a growing total of over 120,000 jobs that were laid off this year. Why? Well, the TLDR is a recession. People are anticipating a recession, consumers spend less, which means businesses also earn less, so they have to make up for those profit margins elsewhere. Most commonly, this is done by cutting labor and advertising costs. It sucks, but it does give you an idea of what led us to this point. Now, let's dive into the microeconomic trends in tech specifically. Now, there are two main reasons why companies like Meta, Twitter, Amazon, and Stripe are claiming to be going through these layoffs and hiring freezes. The first is overhiring during the pandemic, and the second is venture capital. You see, tech went through a small boom during the pandemic. We shifted our entire lives from IRL to digital, but now many of those measures that were put in place to keep us safe during the pandemic are being lifted. One of the most clear examples of this is returning to the office. And as businesses return to office, the cost of keeping the employees that they hired virtually through the pandemic turned out to be much higher than they initially forecast. And this type of poor planning by leadership is a big reason why so many people are losing their jobs today. Now, I said the second reason was venture capital. And do you remember what I said earlier in the video about how a recession can change people's spending habits? Well, that also changes how investors move and think as well. Now, if these companies aren't going to be able to grow rapidly and bring in a boatload of money, well, then why should any investor put up their hard-earned cash? Especially in market conditions where a lot of these startups may not make it through. The risks associated with a recession make venture capitalists very, very hesitant to invest. Meaning, instead of getting an influx of cash to stay afloat, businesses once again have to turn to cutting costs. But this is not an Econ 101 course, so let's slow it down. Layoffs affect everybody differently. It's totally fine if you're feeling upset. So let's talk about some ways that can help you process this sudden change both emotionally and mentally. First, allow yourself time to grieve. Your job is a huge part of your life, and when it disappears, that's going to feel terrifying. And while you might be out of a job, what's important to realize is you're not out of a career. So allow yourself the time you need to process this change. Feel sad, angry, upset. All of these things are totally normal, but they're feelings that have to be dealt with and worked through, or they can have long-lasting effects on your emotional and mental health. Next, take a break. Now, it doesn't need to be to an all-inclusive resort in Aruba, but please, give yourself a little staycation. After being laid off, many people come to the realization that the next step that they want to take in their career leads them down a totally different path than the one that they initially set out on. Using this time while you have it to really explore what's important to you is such a valuable experience. Some other ways that you can spend this time are with friends and family. If your financial situation allows it, giving yourself an extended leave to spend quality time with your loved ones is an incredibly healing way to spend this time. Once you have that opportunity to step back and really internalize and process what you're feeling and what you're going through, the next step is talking it out. To truly heal, it's very, very important that we get negative thoughts and feelings out into the open. And whether it's with a professional or with a friend, just find someone that you can trust, that you can open up to. You know, often when we feel anxious, the unimaginable climb that it would take to overcome this situation becomes a lot more manageable once we get it out there in the open. And that's especially when we're able to get the thoughts, opinion, and feedback of someone that we truly, genuinely trust. Now, while you're reorganizing your life to accommodate for this shift, make sure that you're still nurturing your well-being. exercise, yoga, meditation, video games, music, whatever it is that you use to escape, unplug, and disconnect, make sure that you're still giving yourself the opportunity to enjoy these things in a guilt-free headspace. Now, this is arguably the most important tip we're going to be sharing in this video, so come closer, come closer. After being laid off, it is so critical to maintain relationships with the people you love. Losing a job can often lead to feelings of embarrassment, feelings of shame. This leads to pulling away and isolating ourselves. Negative self-talk lurks in the dark when we're by ourselves. And when we're alone for days, if not weeks on end, that snowball effect is only going to compound and get worse. To make sure that we don't go down that road, it's so important to make sure that we keep people around us and nearby who we love and that love us. Lean on them. I promise they'll be more than happy to support you. These 5 tips will make sure that you stay in a positive, productive headspace as you navigate the change in your short-term future. But there's still that real life side. Finances, kids, healthcare, bills, and everything else. We're gonna end the video here, but stick around for this sneak peek where we'll talk about the steps that you can take from a more tactical standpoint to make sure that you can get through this time with as little stress as possible.